patio. That's the first Linden Baptist Church in Amy's house.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
I'm standing in Frank's yard taking pictures. That's the highway. That's East Coast.
East Coast Avenue.
East Coast Avenue right there. And then you come on around, and this is Frank's house right here. And then this is Frank's beautiful groomed yard. And that's where that doghouse at. Oh, hear that doghouse? We ain't got no dog. We don't want no dog, but we got a doghouse. And that's the church right there. What's the name of the church, Frank?
Greater New Bethel Baptist Church.
I'll let you say it. Tell him about it. He built it with his own hands.
It is a child of the Greater New Bethel Baptist Church, which is located at 601 East 99th Street in the city of Inglewood, California, which is pastored by Reverend Earl Pleasant. And this church is an offspring of the Greater New Bethel Baptist Church of Inglewood, California. It is featured with 42 rafters covering the building, 42 floor joists underneath the building, which stands for the 42 generations through which Christ came, all the way down out of the portals of glory. And it is fronted by 8 steps, which represent the progressive walk into spiritual maturity. The foundation for those steps were laid in Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. The first step is humility. Then you get out of humility and you go into repentance. You get out of repentance, you go to spiritual hunger. You go out of spiritual hunger into mercifulness. You go out of mercifulness all the way up to the final step on the 8th step in the church. I ain't gonna go through all of them. The final step, the 8th step, is the step of sacrificial service. All based on Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Extracted out of the Thompson Chain Reference Bible. I designed those steps. Took me 2.5 years to figure out how to design those steps exactly the way they should be. My daddy was a carpenter in World War II, built theaters in Guam and in the South Pacific, and he would always say, son, you ain't no carpenter unless you can lay steps. And unless you can cut steps. And that is a very complicated task. You got to get the rise and the run and calculate the height of the step and distribute through technical calculations how much rise you have, how many inches. I got 4 inches of rise and 21 inches of run in that, and 42 inches of height. And that, it took me a long time to cut those steps, buddy. I'm telling you, it was work. But the Lord is good. Now, let me tell you about this church. To frame the church up, I tore down a farmhouse in Demopolis. People just gave me the old farmhouse. They didn't pay me a dime for tearing it down. I hauled that lumber that I got out of that house 17 miles here to London and framed it up with engineering and mathematical certainty. I laid it out, architecturally designed it so that I could get as much house, as much church, frame up as much church out of the lumber that I had. Because I couldn't afford to buy it. No, they ain't had no money. Ain't had no budget. Ain't had no building fund committee. Ain't had no church. Just working with the law. And I want to testify and say that I never, in the 10 years that it took me to build it, I never lacked any material to work with. God supplied every need, every nail, everything. Now, it took some good management because I had to buy 1 sheet of plywood at a time. I get 1 sheet out of this plywood for the exterior siding, $24 for 4 by 8 feet sheet of plywood. I had to buy 1 sheet a month out of my check. But the Lord carried me all the way through.
Oh, Lord.
Let's hold my mule. I'm getting ready.
God.
I feel a shout coming
Oh,
on right now. He is good. His mercy is everlasting, and his truth, my Jesus, endures throughout all generations. Don't make me clown. But I'm just happy. I ain't got nothing. But thank God I don't need nothing. All my needs have been supplied. And I just want to testify and say that anything any Christian ought to do, they can do it. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I didn't even have a hammer when I started building that church. I was coming off 4th Street on Martin Luther King Boulevard there in front of the project and saw a hammer laying out there in the road. And I got out of my truck and picked up that hammer. And that is a sanctified and holy hammer that I drove every nail with. The Lord gave me that hammer. I still got it. And then I want to say this, Charles. I thank God for going on 8 years of perfect attendance. I ain't missed a Sunday. Biggest of the time, ain't nobody there but me and the Lord. But me and the Lord is the majority. He said, son, I'll always be with you. Go into all the world and preach to God. Lo, I will be with you always. And that's enough for my soul. If the world forsake me, they can forsake me if they want to. Jesus with me is enough. Let's go inside. I want to show you the miraculous way the interior of the church has been developed and laid out. Those beautiful colors, crimson red, representing the 42, representing the blood of the Lord shed. I wish I could tell you. You see that cross there? See that cross right there? This landscape is designed to depict the crucifixion of Christ. Or where that stick is sticking up inside of them bricks there, at Golgotha where Christ was crucified, that's where stood the executioner who read the charges against Jesus. Jesus was charged with blasphemy. He stood right there. Them little 2 brick walkways going up there and terminating at the cross, that's the Via Dolorosa. Right over here in the deck there, that's where Pontius Pilate sat. And it was his job to observe the crucifixion. This cluster of trees right in here, all the way down here, represent Longinus and the centurions that supervised the execution. Them little 3 trees over there represent the family section at the crucifixion of Christ, where stood Mary, out of whom Christ delivered 7, cast out 7 demons. She broke that alabaster box on it. Right next to her was John. Right next to John was Mary, the mother of Jesus. And Jesus stopped down on the cross and took care of his mama. This entire landscape depict the crucifixion scene of Christ. Right over here, this is where stood the dissenting members of the Sanhedrin Council, Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea. They didn't agree with Caiaphas and Hannas. Caiaphas and Hannas and the majority of the Sanhedrin Council that crucified Christ were right there in the trees right there. That's where Caiaphas and Hannas was. And then Hannas was the controller of the Sanhedrin Council. Caiaphas was just the chairman and the figurehead. But Hannas controlled Caiaphas because Caiaphas married Hannas' daughter. And Hannas had 5 boys on that Sanhedrin Council. It was an illegitimate kangaroo court that met to pronounce the crucifixion of Christ. They met at night. It was a mob. It was a lynch mob. It wasn't a legitimately constituted body. Rabbi Gamaliel wouldn't even fool around or associate with Hannas and that kind of crowd that conducted them kind of trials, nighttime, clandestine, kangaroo trials. But anyway, God's footprints all over this place. He owns this place. And they say in farm country down here that the best medicine any land can have is the footprints of the owners of the land.